letting folks know first and foremost that this is being recorded, and so that we can share this to others that have shared maybe that they couldn't be here tonight, or maybe that we'll put it on social media and YouTube and all that for folks to take part in this. So I am coming to you live from your state capitol down in Salem, in my little office of the world here. And I really want to thank you for taking the time. I think we're in for a really great evening tonight to be able to just kind of give a glimpse at the state level, the county level, the city level of North Plains, to really just to have an opportunity to share what some progress and things that folks are working on, as well as have opportunity to answer any questions that may come up. So I just really wanted to, we're just going to go around and I will have Mayor Lenahan and Washington County Commissioner Willey give a little brief introduction of themselves. And I will just say again, thank you so much. This is my third term as the state representative for House District 30, which represents areas of Banks, North Plains, Hillsborough, and Aloha Beaverton. And I serve on the Behavioral Health Committee. I serve on the Education Committee. I serve as the co-chair of Public Safety, Ways and Means, the subcommittee for Ways and Means. And I'm on the Alcohol Drug Policy Commission. And I really have really truly been honored to be the representative for North Plains. And really wanted to just bring this opportunity together. And I want to just say that I don't do this work alone. This is a team effort. And I have Nicole Vargas, which if you want to, Nicole and Mark, want to introduce yourself really quickly? And
sure, Nicole Vargas, Rep. Sollman's Chief of Staff.
Mark Watson, Legislative Assistant, and in my first session here at the Capitol, learning quite a bit.
Excellent. And it's kind of a bummer because it is mostly virtual. So, but there's still a lot to learn. I also have an intern, Jenna Devenberg, and I also have high school interns, 3 high school interns that share this opportunity and really help out in the office. So I will kick it off to our other panelists of speakers to give a little intro of themselves. Do you want to thumb wrestle? Who's going?
Jerry, you want to go first?
Go right ahead, Mayor. I defer to you.
Age before beauty, right?
Other way around, I think. Beauty, age.
What else? So, and for those who don't know me, I mean, it's nice to be able to have this wonderful conversation with Rep. Sollman and Commissioner Willey, and we're friendly. We're friends, which is nice. You know, we have a pretty good rapport with each other. So I'm the mayor of North Plains. I was elected this past November into my second term. Prior to that, I was on city council for 8 years, and then 5 of those 8, I was the council president. So I feel like I have a pretty good grasp of what's going on in the city most days. Some days I don't, because it just seems like growth is happening so fast and can be kind of mind-blowing. But the reason that I decided to run for mayor 5 years ago was that we saw some incredible growth that was coming down the pipe, and that was going to hit our town pretty hard. And it sort of caught us with our pants down, so to speak, you know, sort of like this, oh my God, this is happening. So it was an oh my God moment for me to say, listen, we need to get into the game and find out what's going on and how can we be a part of the conversation so that we can help our community grow, but also maintain the small town charm and the connectivity in our community that we really love and appreciate. So I'm thrilled that my constituents said, you know, yes, thumbs up, we want you as mayor again for another 4 years. I'm very grateful for that. COVID has made communicating very challenging. You know, everything's virtual and whatnot. So I love being a hands-on kind of person and mayor, door knocking and getting together with folks. So it's been a little challenging this past year, but you know, we're getting through it just like everyone else. But you know, I just want to really see North Plains stay engaged in the regional conversation, but more importantly in the Western Washington County conversation, because we are unique. We're a small town growing into a bigger town. But again, the constituents here, the residents here really want to stay engaged into what's happening. And I think it's important that myself and other elected officials in North Plains continue to have active dialogues with our residents, and you know, so that they can understand what's happening, why it's happening, and also be engaged so that they can be a part of the change and have a say in how they want their community to grow. So I'm grateful for my position, thankful that they trust and have confidence in me. And I also am grateful that I'm getting to know other electeds, other mayors and other councilors, more importantly, the commissioners and, you know, state representatives more in this last couple of years. So I look forward to more dialogue and more partnerships. Thank you.
Well, great. And I completely agree with everything you said, Mayor. You know, you and I have had a lot of conversations back when I was mayor, as also now as county commissioner, and you're in my district. North Plains is it has a golden opportunity, and I think you're doing everything you can to make sure that the community maximizes that and still stays a small personal community. And I think that's your focus, and I think you're doing a great job of that. So, you know, continue to stay with us as we come through this next phase of coming out of COVID and all of the challenges of construction prices going up. It's still going to be demanding, but you and Andy are doing a great job out there. So keep up the good work on that. And for those of you who don't know, I'm Jerry Willey. I'm Warshington County Commissioner for District 4, and District 4 includes, of course, North Plains, Banks, Gaston, Forest Grove, Cornelius, and about half of Hillsborough. And then we move on out into the rural areas. I have the largest percentage of rural territory in my district. So lots of timberland and lots of farmland. And so each one of those have different challenges, and I'll address those in a little bit. But so just thank you, Janine, Representative Sollman, to be official, and Mayor, for allowing me to join you tonight in this conversation. I did see a question pop up in the chat that said, "Who's Andy?" Andy is the city manager for North Plains, and I, apologize for being a little bit too informal there, but Andy's been with North Plains for about 3 years now and has done a great job.
Yep. Yeah, and we're grateful that we found him and he found us, and he has done a phenomenal job. Also, I want to give a shout out to Trista Papin. She's on the Zoom call tonight. She is a city councilor, and she is active and engaged. She's a mom of 2 small boys, but she's actually been a little bit more active and engaged in city council for several years. I mean, she's been coming to our council meetings and asking questions. And so I'm thrilled that she's a part of our city council, because she's got her finger on the pulse as well. So good to see you. I'm glad you're on the call tonight.
Welcome, Trista. And I think it's exciting when you're bringing your lens of experience and being living in the city, being a parent, all of that, and bringing that to the city council. It's an important lens to share. I want to do another little shout out here. I do notice that, and she doesn't have to go on camera, but I do notice that Beach Pace is on as well. She's a city councilor for Hillsborough, so also a House District 30 resident. So I know that I see her on, and then I think it should be known. I think everyone on here does know this, but Mark kind of wears a couple of different hats. And one of those is Hillsborough School Board, Hillsborough School District board member, newly reelected. So yeah, so I just wanted to do that. And what we're going to do now is we're kind of just going to go through and do a few minutes to talk about some things that maybe I'm working on the state level, give you some background there. Commissioner Willey can talk about at the county level, as well as Mayor Lenahan can then share from the North Plains City angle. And then I'm going to kick it back to, after we do that, then I'll kick it back to Nicole, who will kind of just give the rules of the road for how we'll do questioning, questions and such. And so just wanted to share that because I know the hour will go very quickly, so I'll stop talking about all this. I really just wanted to share with you a couple of points because so much of the time that folks can really concentrate and really focus on thinking that, we are a majority minority state and that the work that is done all by one party and such. And I just really want to tell you, being in this position for nearly serving on my third term, it's really not the case. The majority of the work that we do is bipartisan. And just to give you an example, we had kind of a midway point check, and I want to make sure that I get this right. So 57% of the bills that we passed were actually unanimous. And 37% of the bills passed were bipartisan and had more than 3 Republican votes. 4.8% of the bills passed were bipartisan with less than 3 Republican votes. And 1.2% of the bills that we passed midway were actually party line votes. So I just want to give you that snapshot to let you know that much of the work that we do down here is bipartisan. And I do think that when you're able to really work with folks with differing views and different, again, lens of experience and areas that they represent, stronger policy comes to be. And I just want to touch on a couple of the bills that I have worked on that are, and I'll mention they're bipartisan and bicameral, which means we have Republicans and Democrats and senators and representatives that are sponsors of the bill. One of them was kind of an expansion of the paper bag bill. This was something that I worked on with banning the plastic bag in a previous session. And this bill actually expanded it to utilize wheat waste and potentially hemp waste in creating a material that can be used in a paper bag. This is a local Willamette Falls paper company that will benefit from this. It's also a ways for rural legislators who jumped on board who said, wait a minute, this is a potential moneymaker and economic value for my area whose wheat production is solely what we export from here. So that's exciting. Did a bill on textbook affordability. It was an 18-month process, but it really was about making sure that students, when they were able to compare classes, they were able to look at what the costs of the materials will be, and then they can determine and have an expectation when they're signing up for that class, what their expectation will be for the costs of books. And it's just a transparency that, again, bipartisan, bicameral support. Another bill came from a constituent, which was from the deaf and hard of hearing community, that said we should be able to indicate on our driver's license or our car registration if we are deaf or hard of hearing, so that if a police officer pulls them over, then that means that the police officer would actually see that information first and foremost. So that kind of just is a possible, a better communication. So there isn't any miscommunication communication and anything that could possibly go wrong from, kind of escalating into something it shouldn't, just because someone is not being able to communicate and hear. So I'm really proud of that work, bipartisan, bicameral, working on prohibiting symbols of hate in our schools and such. That, again, bipartisan, bicameral. Our Southern legislators really led the charge on that, specifically coming from the voice of a student. And I just want to say, I think it was Mayor Lenahan said something about students that possibly triggered me to say, I'm really proud, because if you could see over here on the back of my door, that is lists from fourth graders that I visited their classroom 3 years in a row, and they came up with bill ideas. And so this was something that these students really cared about and shared. And I think the last one I'll talk about, because I'm sure we'll talk about other things too on the bills, is a House Bill 3389, which was a bipartisan, bicameral effort to address the impacts of the pandemic and unemployment insurance rates. So that was something that a solid group of Republicans and Democrats got together and worked on to make sure that Oregon businesses didn't get just walloped with those rates increasing due to the pandemic and out of no control of their own. And that was something that I was really proud to sponsor and to be able to vote yes on and support. Something like that was really critical for me, because I did restaurant roundtables, and in those roundtables, I heard from restaurants that said that and support in loans and grants were really critical for them. And that's what could help them stay afloat in their businesses and such. And so I was really, really proud to vote on something like that, because 85% of Oregon businesses were going to see a dramatic increase. So, and with that, because I think I've talked a bit, I want to make sure to kick it off to, should we mix it up a little bit? Let's see. Now I'm going to do Commissioner Willey, talk a little bit about some things that are happening on the county, level. And Michael will certainly come back to you for questions and such. So hold on to that question.
Great. Thank you, Janine. I appreciate a few minutes to talk about some of the things that I have been working on, specifically probably in my district for a couple of them. And then one of them, of course, is overall board information. I'm hoping everyone here has heard about the Salmonberry Trail. And if you haven't, it's a Rails to Trails project that starts in Banks, and it runs alongside the Banks Vernonia Trail for a while, and then heads off and goes clear over the Coast Mountains and ends up in Tillamook. It's actually an 84-mile trail. It's been divided into 4 sections, and it's a monumental project. It has, that rail line has trestles, and it has tunnels, and then of course it has not been utilized for a number of years, and so has a lot of overgrown brush and trees and just a variety of things. So it's a lot of challenges. It's going to be a lot of money, but we're doing that in little kind of baby steps. And so we're really looking forward to moving ahead. My part of it from Washington County is about 21 miles of it. And so we are certainly looking for funding, Metro in their parks funding, and a variety of other places to help get this going. And we're going to be working more and more about that. There's a number of partners in this. That particular trail touches basically Washington County and Tillamook County, but there's a number of other things that are going on with that. So it's very cool. The other thing that COVID-19 has emphasized and really brought to the highlight is rural broadband, or I should say the lack of rural broadband. And so we have that, as well as COLPAC is an organization that's Columbia Pacific. It is my part of Washington County, Columbia County, Clatsop County, and Tillamook County, and that we're the economic development group of that. And so we've been working on rural broadband. We now have tomorrow I'll be going over 2 proposals where consultants are going to tell us where the fiber is laid throughout the counties, and the different variations of opportunities that we have. Of course, we're going to need to be talking to our utility companies because they know how many people we have out there. We don't even know that, but they certainly do because they provide utilities to those rural company or rural businesses and individuals. And so we are really looking forward to that. As you also may know, President Biden has in his proposal, and the ARPA money has a significant amount of money allocated to rural broadband. The state of Oregon has also done that as well. They have a broadband advisory committee office, and so everything's starting to come together on that. But it is a huge undertaking, and we're going to move ahead as quickly as we possibly can to see if we can get continuation of broadband out into our rural areas in Warshington County. And the last one, of course, is the ARPA money. We have, as a county, been designated with $116 million of that money. It's going to come in two tranches. 58 million is coming in the next month or so, and then another 58 million in a year. Remember that we also received about $104 million of CARES money. And the difficulty of the CARES money was we received it in April or May, but we had to spend it by December 30. And so it was really fast acting. We allocated about $15 million to business recovery. So Commissioner Treese in District 2 and I oversaw that and tried as hard as we could to get that money out into the hands of our businesses, particularly our small and minority-owned businesses. We worked with all the cities in Washington County, and it was really a great program, but it was fast. We had to hit the ground running, and we had to get it done by December 30th. The benefit of ARPA money is it's much longer timeline. So we've got 58 million in the first year, we get 58 million in the second year, and we have about a 3.5-year window of time to use that money to get our economy back healthy again, certainly providing with the health and human services part of it. And so it's a great opportunity that we're going to have to enhance several funds and several services that the county does, and including certainly our business services. So kind of stay tuned with that. We're going to be working on that. I'm on the committee with Chair Harrington to design what that looks like. And so we should have that in place here in the next 3 or 4 weeks, because that money's coming and we've got to get it out to the areas that need it. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mayor Lenahan.
Thank you, Commissioner Willey, and thank you, Representative Sollman. I appreciate that. So I'm looking forward to giving you a little bit of an update on what's going on in North Plains. So when our businesses shut down for the year, we actually worked together, our city manager and our finance director and others worked together to create the Buy Local Club. And what that was is that we had incentivized our residents to spend money on the local businesses in town. And if you did that, then you got a percentage, you got some money back off of your water bill. And so over the course of the time that we did that, it was a success, and people saw savings on their water bills, and it still also helped manage to keep our small businesses afloat until the state and the federal money started to come in, and that folks could get their PPE loans and that sort of thing. So for the most part, I think we're doing a pretty good job now. We don't have the Buy Local Club any longer, but it was also a pretty good introduction to get some of the newer residents to help support some of our local businesses if they had not done so already. So that's kind of fun. Some of the other we've been really kind of focusing on a couple of big things. The first thing I want to bring to everyone's attention is the pedestrian pathway along West Union. So if you've ever been in North Plains and seen a map of North Plains, you see, North Plains, and then some farmland, and then you see some houses over there. Well, the houses on the east side are in North Plains. They're in the city limits. But over the last couple of years, it just became very apparent to us that we need to connect the folks on the east side to town, what we call sort of like the regular North Plains town. And so the local leaders decided, let's try to put together a pedestrian path that runs along West Union, that goes over the West Union Bridge, and then can connect folks to Glencoe in a safe manner. And so the pedestrian path is something that we're really excited about and we're really proud of. So it's something that's been working for a couple of years. We have we're breaking ground on that this year. We're hoping, actually this summer, we're hoping that we'll have it all squared away for when school starts, because we have a new elementary school on the east side as well. So we have North Plains Elementary School, and then we have Atfalati Ridge that's in the Sunset neighborhood. And so some kids, though, that live on this side of Glencoe will be going to the school, and they need a safe travel passage. And so hopefully the pedestrian path along West Union will be up and running, and families will be able to have a safe and fun way to be able to travel to and from. The second project that we're working on is the Jessie Mays Park. And so that particular park is our gem of our community. It's where we have the Elephant Garlic Festival. It's where we have music in the park. It's where we have all of our chili cook-offs and all that sort of thing. And as our city has been growing, we feel the growing pains of needing more space. So what we're going to be doing is through grant money and state and county money, we are building an outdoor bathroom. So we are lucky to be able to have a porta potty there, but not everybody wants to use it. So one thing that I really championed for was to create an outdoor bathroom. And so we're going to be working on that this summer, so that's exciting. And then we're also going to be working on, and it's going to take a couple of phases, but we're going to improve the park equipment. So it's going to have more age-appropriate park equipment. There will be a gazebo. There'll be some specific ADA compliant equipment for children as well. So we're real excited about improving Jessie Mays Park. Big purchase that the city did this past year was we purchased the last 5 acres of commercial land on Glencoe. And we call that area the Glencoe Opportunity Area. That particular area, this past month, we put out a developer RFP. The premise, the idea for that particular area is to create kind of a master plan on what that's going to look like for commercial space. Now, something that we've heard in North Plains for years, for as long as I've lived here, I'm sure longer. I've only been here 14. I feel like a newcomer after 14 years. But people want a grocery store here in town, and that is a big, big thing. I mean, we have to go to Hillsborough or Banks or wherever for our groceries, but folks here want a grocery store. So the city purchased the land, the Urban Renewal Agency, in the hopes that we can create a development on that site to house a grocery store and maybe some mixed use properties. So that's developing, and that's more to come. It's exciting. So just keep watching our website on that. We have we're putting together a capital improvement plan. And what that is going to entail is this past year in November, we passed a gas tax, the first ever in our community. And so the funds that we will be receiving from that gas tax will be going to help support our roads and our sidewalks and all of that in our community. The capital improvement plan we're taking an inventory of our roads. We're looking at what needs to be improved. We will be determining when things need to be improved, how often, how much, and all of that sort of thing. So it's kind of like, with some departments, they have like a vehicle, reserve fund, and every couple of years you might have to go and replace a vehicle. Well, every couple of years we have to resurface roads, and we've never had an inventory about that. So we're putting that together, and then putting a plan together for that. And then lastly, I could keep going, but I won't in the interest for time and questions and that sort of thing. But our urban renewal agency has been wanting to work on our downtown core area, and we want to be able to attract. We have businesses along commercial in our downtown core, and we are working with a consultant and some local business owners, electeds, and citizens are a part of this advisory, sort of this ad hoc advisory board. And they will be looking at ways to improve what we have, and also to be able to then put a plan in place to see what our needs are, and then how we might be able to implement some of those ideas down the road. And actually, lastly, one more thing, we have an urban growth boundary advisory committee. Currently, we have no more buildable land within our city limits. 20 years ago, we identified a 20-year supply. Well, we've maxed it out with our east development and our north expansion development. So the city council and city staff said, let's start to have the conversation about an urban growth boundary expansion. And so we have a group right now that has been working the last several months to identify the areas in and around North Plains that we could potentially start to study to see what land can be brought in into our community so that we can accommodate housing needs and economic needs. So that's really exciting. I'm a part of that group, and we're going to start our phase 2 of the project this summer. So more to come on that too. So as you can tell, there's just a lot going on, and I feel kind of nerdy because I like talking about it. But it's so, there's so much going on, and it's kind of fun. So yeah, I'll stop there and turn it back over to Rep. Sollman, and we'll take questions, I guess. You're on mute.
Yep. I was like, perfect. Right. You're muted. So I was just trying to pull in some information about, hopefully this comes across okay. There it is. Some contact information for that the mayor had provided. And also just want to say that I know that Nicole and Mark really put together a lot of good links as far as for businesses and restaurants and pulling this information. So we can put that in there too, so that folks can look at that as well, if that's something that they are needing a reference, material on. So I did promise Michael we would come to you, and then I do see a question in the chat. So I'll go to Michael first.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Look, this is really important, so please hear me out. I'll try to be brief. Have you ever heard of squalene or SM102 or beta BCG?
What is it again?
Squalene, SM102, or beta BCG.
No.
A beta BCG causes sterility in everything that everybody that uses it. SM102 is not for human consumption, and squalene is just straight toxic poison. Yet they're all in the vaccine. Please don't let anybody take the vaccine. It is not meant for any good whatsoever. 1.1% of people that take the vaccine are protected from COVID. That's it. You can double check my numbers. You can check every fact I give you, but it's true. Please don't let anybody take that vaccine that you know. The governor's plan, the lottery, that's not good. Children are dying. There's over 4,000 people dead from those vaccines now. Over 4,000. A hell of a lot more than from the virus itself that it's supposed to fight. Please, listen to what I'm saying. Stay away from the vaccine. Don't let them give it to your kids. Please. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate you sharing that. And I know that, when people talk about the vaccines, whether that they feel it's a personal medical freedom to be able to choose that vaccine or not, I think it is, it's an emotional thing for a lot of folks. It's very difficult for folks, to make that decision or to do that for themselves or their family members. And I would just say that I think it's incredibly important to be able to research with science and even your own trusted medical provider to do so, making sure that you have those conversations. I'm not going to sit here and tell you anything on medical facts. I'm not a medical provider, but I do know that whether it's Washington County, whether it's the state level, they do, really strive to make sure that they're providing all the information possible. I just really recommend that it's incredibly important for you to have that personal discussion and that discussion with your with your doctor or your provider. For me personally, I have chosen to get the vaccine. I know that for me, I know that for my mom's safety, for my grandson who's 7 months, I really wasn't willing to or wanting to make that risk for them to get them sick. And that I have known people that have personally died from COVID. One was I didn't know these folks close, but they were friends of my good friend, and the small children lost both of their parents to COVID. And I think it has caused much devastation across the world, really. And so it is just really important that folks, look at all aspects of that medical research, look at making sure that you're having those conversations with your doctor, and making that decision for yourself. But I appreciate, and I could hear the emotion in your voice, and I really want to recognize that, and I want to respect that for you sharing that. So thank you. I will also, I don't know if anyone else wants to add. Okay, so I will go on to the next question, which is from Beach Pace, and she's asking, thanks for making this event happen. What local projects are you working on or planning on supporting with ARPA funding? So that is funding that will be coming from our federal government, as we have heard. And it was really rather exciting that as a legislator, thank you, first of all, Councillor Beach Pace, for that question. It was rather exciting because we were given the opportunity as legislators to look at local projects and how we could potentially partner and help local communities with projects under a certain guideline that could help with different things in boosting the economy, or addressing needs within your district. Now, we were given what as a Senate district, which is Senator Riley, and 2 House districts with Representative McLean and myself. We decided to actually pool our money together and look at various projects that we could help. And we're really incredibly proud of the projects that we came together collectively to do. It was actually really good planning in the fact that each of us are only given 4 projects to give money towards, and or potentially just submit the idea, because it does have to be approved legislatively, this funding. So that's also incredibly important detail. And we were given 4 projects we could invest in. So instead of you pitch in here and you pitch in here, we then pooled our money and then really benefited some great projects, including specifically that could affect the North Plains area. $1.8 million support for the Pathway project, the Pathway Pedestrian Improvement Project, as well as the Jessie Mays Community Restoration, the park that Mayor Lenahan spoke of. So we're incredibly proud to provide this opportunity. Also, which could potentially affect North Plains, is that we've made investments in for $200,000 at the Hillsborough Schools Foundation in their bilingual career kits, which will benefit students in the Hillsborough School District. As well as a property acquisition fund, which is through APANO, the Asian Pacific American Network of Oregon. They're looking at investing in some property, and we're investing $500,000 in some property within Washington County, haven't designated where, but that could help with housing, opportunity. So those particular projects, I think, could potentially impact, as well as we're $1 million to the Hillsborough School District to purchase 2 electric school buses. Combined with some grant money, we actually may have the opportunity to get more than 2 school buses, so that we're working on that with potentially PGE, and then some settlement money from the Volkswagen settlement that came to the state. So those are some projects that we're hopeful for. So what we did is we submitted the list. Now it needs to go through an approval process to make sure that the projects that we submitted actually do match the criteria. And then once that we do find that, we have the opportunity to come back and revamp anything that possibly doesn't meet the criteria, but we feel really good about it. And then the legislature will vote on all of the projects. So imagine there's 90 of us, there's 60 representatives and 30 senators that have submitted plans. And so that will be quite a bill coming through when we see that. But it's really, really exciting that we really look to figure out how we could invest in our local communities, because North Plains is not getting as much in the ARPA funds that other cities or the county level. And so we want to really try to leverage those dollars.
And I want to say thank you so much for your support. And I know that you have talked to me and, city manager and others about our projects. And, I'm grateful that North Plains is on your radar with dollar signs next to it. I know North Plains is always on your radar, but to have it in the same sentence with, funding is really exciting for us, because we're a small town and we don't have deep pockets, even though we're very smart with our money and conservative. And I think that we've done an excellent job balancing our budgets over the years. We just are looking forward to it, and I'm just keeping our fingers crossed that everybody else at the state thinks it's a good idea too. So, but thank you again for your support.
Really proud to partner with the senator and Representative McLean on this, and we're really excited and feeling good about it. So there's a lot of other really great projects that are going to be right in Hillsborough around homeless initiatives, and Adelante Mujeres and Bienestar, and so we're excited about the opportunity. So I don't know if anyone else has any questions, or if anything came through earlier that we wanted to.
Feel
May I say, I know that we had some questions submitted ahead of time. And I'm not sure who submitted it and if that person is on the call. Let me look at my little list here. The question, or actually the comment was, I would like to see welcoming committees and assign personnel to help guide immigrant families to necessary resources. You know, and I know in North Plains, we don't have, well, a couple of years ago, the Chamber of Commerce actually put together a welcome wagon kind of committee. And as new residents would come in to town, we actually got the list of new residents and we created these welcome packets. And then about 5 of us would actually go door to door and welcome the new residents into town. Some things that we did have in our packet that were translated, but mainly they were resources that we could give to families. It wasn't necessarily a guide for immigrant families, but they were just welcome packets of not just things in North Plains and services and businesses, but all throughout Washington County. And so we're hoping that we can restart that, you know, after we kind of get to a point where we can do that again and get together and do those types of things again. We've had several people actually email saying, we missed that. They really enjoyed having that welcome packet because, again, like I said, it wasn't just North Plains, but it was all of Washington County, like what's going on in other cities. So that's something that I know that we're working on. And I didn't know if there was any other question. There were a couple other questions and I didn't know if you felt like you wanted to address them. Rep. Sollman.
I apologize. I don't have that list of questions right here in me, but I want to just add something to what you had said too, that the gentleman that talked about that was he really gave an interesting perspective or why this is so important is because he said the information just of like, what is your local school? How would you go about contacting them? You know, and all these different supports that really kind of like just that checkoff list of welcome. And here's a way for you to get integrated into the community as far as the things that you may need for your family or the things that you may need to help you, find perhaps they want to go to higher education, college, or they wanted to help look for a job and such. So I thought that was really, that was amazing that he had presented that idea. And I love Gales Creek girl growing up in Gales Creek. I love the things that North Plains continues to really make sure that community connection with everyone, with residents, and the welcoming is just, it's so incredibly important. And that's really cool.
Good. Well, once we get this back into gear where we can create those welcome packets, and we might call on you and maybe to deliver one or two of them. Well,
Great.
We'll rope you in.
Awesome. Happy to do it.
Good.
And I do want to mention, there's a comment in here about from Jackie Jones, thanking us all for our time and valuing agriculture and the economy and the infrastructure and your farmer constituents. I thought of you, Jackie Jones, today when placing a vote that I think you'd be proud that I took. So, she's moving. She's a working farmer, so she is moving irrigation right now and she can't jump on. But I just wanted to do the shout out for Jackie Jones on that. And thank you for always being engaged.
Rep. Sollman, there was one pre-submitted question that maybe Commissioner Willey might like to respond to about transportation improvements on county roads to keep up with growth.
And the question was, how do we do that? Or what's the priority? Or okay, so I'll jump in there.
That was the gist of the question. I don't know if it was a comment or a question, but it said transportation improvements on county roads.
Well, as we all know, the more population we have in the county and the more the commuting challenges are, different alternatives for getting from A to B include rural back roads. So if you go from Hillsborough and you have a job in Wilsonville, you may be inclined to take some rural roads to get down through Sherwood and certainly drop down into Tualatin and those kinds of things. And I think pre-pandemic, we were seeing a significant increase in those travel points, and it was a concern to our agriculture industry because, during certain periods of time, they're moving large equipment down those roads. Those roads are not designed for high commuter traffic. But the fact of the matter is we are trying to deal with all of that. So we continue to look at how we can make some improvements to those roads for safety purposes. But again, big picture is we've got to look at how we can improve public safety access, or not public safety, but public transportation access, certainly MAX trains and buses and those kinds of things. And Highway 26, Highway 217, Highway 99, some major arterials around our county. We've got to be continuing to look for areas that we can make improvements there. So it's a big picture, and it's very difficult and complex because there is a significant amount of resistance to improving and expanding roads in our rural areas, not only for land use restrictions, but just I think environmentally there's some pushback on that as well. So that's a difficult question. Quite frankly, we, in the rural side of things, we try and make sure that we can have our rural roads and bridges safe and upgraded for earthquake capabilities and those kinds of things. So that's primarily what I focus on in my area of the county, because we've got a lot of rural roads that still have a lot of traffic on them. So kind of wandered all over the place on that answer, but it's a big and complex question.
I think it's interesting. I remember knocking on a door many years ago, and the person said, I'm really frustrated because you're repaving this road out here, and yet my daughter has 37 kids in her classroom. Why don't you just invest those dollars there? And it's like, well, it's hard to explain. And I made a joke and said, wouldn't it be great if we color coded the middle stripe according to who pays for the road? And so if it's a really bad road, you can go, darn that county, and if it's this, then you go to the city and say, hey, make those improvements. But I think it is a complex issue because people don't know who services those roads. But
well, in case in point, in North Plains, West Union is a county road. Glencoe is a county road. Gordon is a county road. And, people don't realize that, and they think that those roads belong to the city, and they want changes and improvements to those roads. And we have to tell them, but they aren't ours, and I walk, and I'm a cyclist. And so I know fog line in a ditch can be very detrimental to your health, right? My husband has fallen in the ditch on his bike, just there's not enough space. So, I mean, there are things that, in like those roads need improvements. And I wish that we could sometimes have a bigger conversation for those types of roads. I know that the county has much bigger things to deal with on roads and transit and transportation, but I think small rural roads are really just as important. So I don't, Commissioner Willey, I don't want your job, and I really appreciate everything you do to champion for, North Plains and Banks and Timber. I mean, our small road, our rural roads, and even the roads from here to Sherwood and Tualatin and whatnot. I usually travel those when I have to go in those directions. But, you know, and we have to share the roads with farmers, you know, out here. We have to share them with combines and, you know, and tractors and things like that. And as we go and grow, my concern is that we're making roads skinnier, that, you know, makes it difficult for farm traffic, you know, so there's a lot of complexities really. And I can certainly appreciate all the work that you're doing on our behalf and other small towns.
Well, thank you. And you also know that funding is reasonably limited now. We have relied on gas tax for centuries and, well, maybe not centuries, but decades. And gas tax is now shrinking because of electric cars and because of fuel efficiency. And we haven't replaced that with any mechanism to fund the roads. And so that's coming. I'm sure, Janine, you're going to hear more and more about VMT, vehicle miles traveled. And I am quite frankly, a big fan of VMT. We were talking about that back in my mayor days, and we didn't have nearly as many hybrid and electric cars on the road as we do today. So that's a conversation we're going to have. We're going to continue to have, I'm sure, for the next few years.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, look at that. The hour quickly goes. How quick that flies by. We were going to have a kind of a recap, but man, it's I think we've run out of time, and I want to be really respectful of your time and the panelists' time and staff time and just time in general, because I'm going to get in my electric car and now drive home from Salem. It's an hour and 15-minute drive, but I pay more in registration than you all do. So, but anyway, I just I thank you all for giving your time. You know, and to the mayor, thank you so much. And to the commissioner, and for Nicole and Mark and all the prep, and Megan, just all the prep that comes to this hour. Just so many great links of information, and you know, hopefully we'll do this again. Give this an opportunity down the line to, you know, give people the opportunity to ask questions and get to know their local electeds. So,
can I ask a really quick question just before we wrap up? For the folks who might want to view this later, where will they find that information?
It's a great question. So we do have a YouTube page. And so, you know, we have a YouTube page that will put this link, but we'll certainly send this out to the mayor and to the commissioner so that they can utilize this where they need to and share that on their social media. We'll share it on social media. We'll probably put it in the newsletter that we send out once a week. Yeah, those will be the main ways that we'll share this information. And like I said, hopefully we can do this again. And thank you so much, Trista, for joining, and love to see your little that was running around there. And so, and thank you, Hillsborough City Councilor Beach Pace, for joining as well. It's always great to know how the partnership between North Plains and Hillsborough works out great. So yeah.
Good, thank you again. Let's do it again.
Let's do it again. Contact any of our offices with any questions, school district wise, anything. We have so many great developments. Of course, Mark, being on the school board, knows all things about Atfalati. And so, you know, happy to share that information with you. And again, thank you so much for your time.
All right. Good night, all. Have a good weekend.
Yourself and each other.